Hey, DJ here from PTA. Want to go over the trade for the day. I have three that I want to go over. These particular trades ultimately was the winners for the day. Really good trade, really good solid trading on these. I'm gonna go over each one of the trades and kind of break everything down. As I always do, I go over the SPY first. So let's go over the SPY based off the daily. And what I want you to pay attention to is those key areas. Again, guys, we're still in a downtrend. So yes, we see this pop. Today was a great volume day on the upside. Didn't match the volume from the day before, but you know, we did get some good play, a good range of about $4, 470 in range. But we're still in a downtrend. So I'm still looking at it as a short. I would like to see it come back up to this 390 right there, 390, 364 area, and start shorting it from there to go down. That will be excellent trading at that point to actually get it to go back down. Even from here back down to support 373, that would be a nice $20-something move. So again, guys, I just feel like the market is going down, and that's where we're headed. Usea, that was our winner. Now, Usea was shot out in the Discord. With it being shot out in the Discord, a lot of traders took advantage of it and saw it. So shout out to everyone that's in the Discord that took advantage of it. Now, our subscribers definitely got support levels. They got all the key levels beforehand, so on and so forth. So they were able to take advantage of that trade before everyone else. One of our trade people that posted and kind of sent me a message through DM, and didn't want to be announced or anything like that, but you know, he had his first 5-digit trading day. He made $22,000 a day off this trade. So I was very proud of him because he was one of our very first people that's got on board to the subscription. Now this one here was very interesting in how it moved and how it worked. The key area on this one was 708. Now let me break down why 708 was critical. 708 was the same area where it closed on the 7th, as well as it closed on the 13th, on the 11th, I'm sorry. So on the 7th and the 11th, it closed at 708. This is the same area that it popped into and fell. Now, knowing that creates a zone, because that gave you the biggest move down. Now, that big move is a supply zone. So remember, open price was 644, high was 715. Hit it perfectly in the zone. Buyers stepped in here, or shorts took some off the table from here to here. That created a demand zone. So the close price of this, 437, the low, 405. 405, nailed it again. Getting better at this drawing. But anyway, so we got down to this area and we had another flush. This will create another area from here to here. And I'm just showing you how to draw these lines. And those who are part of the team pretty much know how this works. So this is just a supply demand zone. This will be your key areas. This is the stuff that keeps you in and out of a trade. So these are your areas, okay? So going into the day, I know that this is a key area. I know I got a supply zone in this area, a demand zone. When I see that the stock gapped up over that in pre-market, because you remember, you're seeing this early in the morning if you're a subscriber. You're getting the email, you're drawing your lines as we teach you in our video lessons. The people who understand take these type of actions to set up the chart and then wait for the price action to form. Breaking it down to the 5-minute, you see right here, this is where we created our first area. Okay, so not only did I go from this key area here, broke out, came back, respected it, they created a new demand zone, went back into another supply zone to gather more. You were expecting to come back and return to this demand zone, but it didn't. It held, went back through the supply zone, came back, and then respected. When it respected the supply zone, that's what created it to be a new demand zone. So right here was your first point of entry day. So when we break this down to a 1 minute, let's go down to the 1 minute. It began to look a little more clear. Okay, so what I want to do is show you the zones from multiple time frames at the same time. So let's go here, break that down, and then we take it here. So this is your area. Break down to the 5. And let's draw this here. So you can see it side by side. So remember, it popped up and created an A. That's here. Now, when it dropped, fell back down, and then bounced, that created a B. So that was here, which is here. So I want to show you from the 5 and the 1 minute to psychologically see the pattern forming before it happens. So that should be. Then you had a pop up, breakdown, and then a takeoff. That area being C. So the C area is where this is where it broke up and broke down here. Right there. So you had support jot in there. And then you had your curl going up. Trend line break into what you would call D. Now, there's a smaller aspect, and this is where you break down, got C here. So I can draw it on both charts, and then this is where you end up getting D. All right, so breaking that down to a smaller aspect is where you get to understand the pattern. So you got A, B, C, D. Then you got a bounce that creates a smaller A, creates support. C is actually B. And you start to get in here, which is C, over the trend line. Now, for me, I typically wait for the break over the trend line. That's where I feel the confidence in, is breaking out a trend. And I usually look for a retest. Usually come back to the trend line, and then it'll go that way. When it does that, that's where my safe bet confirmation comes in at, and then it take off. Usually gives me the sweetest point of risk to reward, which allows you to be able to put on more massive size and then really take advantage of the move. Because by this time, all your late shorts are getting out. You got people buying the cover. You got momentum traders pushing it higher, and they're getting in, and they're pushing the stock even higher. And that's where you get a couple halts. But by that time, you're already selling, so it don't really matter, and you're already up for the day. So this is the breakdown of where it happens. So you get A, B, C, D, and then you get a smaller A, B, C, and then a break of D. So that's what I'm looking for in that trade. Now, this particular trade did it both times. So we had it there, and then we also had it right here. Now, the reason why this one was pretty cool was because of how it broke right there. So the reason why this one was pretty cool is because this one had some support on that side as well. So it went bounce, 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 and created this squeeze. That's how that stock moved. So when we saw that, get the confirmation, you probably got in here at 540. I probably would have squeezed in somewhere around the 532, 530s area, looking at the chart, looking at the wicks. I probably would have got in about 530 for the break and continuation. As you see, it's leaving the demand zone, looking for the supply zone. I'm just getting in the middle where it's been confirmed that I'm away from the demand zone. You can do that again here if you had to call it first thing in the morning. Some people just don't play pre-market price action, but to that day or today, it had a lot of volume, so it was something worth promising to look at. So you could have got in here. If you missed that break, you could have added here, or you could have got in here and sold into the supply zone. Okay, so this was a total breakdown of the stock. Now look at the parts. We have the stock leaving from a demand zone, creating an ABCD pattern. Okay, ABCD pattern, going into a supply zone. And look how interesting this is. It went from the supply zone, pulled out, went back down, went back into a supply zone, played around in it for a while, then broke, and then as soon as it confirmed that it was out of the supply zone and I want to go lower, it aggressively went down. Boom, boom, and then slammed. So it's something to look at. Paying attention to the supply and demand zones are everything when it comes to trading. This is what the banks do. This is what the professional traders do. You want to be doing the same, but play on the same side as them. So let's go over that in writing. We're looking for an uptrend. We saw that from off the daily. There we go. Next step. Key areas of supply zone, demand zone, support and resistance. We had our support and resistance here, supply zone here, demand zone here. Breaking a down trend line or a pullback. This is the pullback to me. Sideways price action, pullback, flag pattern, same stuff. Somebody just remixing the words. Pullback, push. You have a higher probability of winning when you're buying off of a pullback. Statistically proven. Next thing, volume. Had tons of volume. News catalyst. Had news this morning. ABC pattern in the stock. When I see all 6 of these things going on at one time, it gives me confluence. It gives me the confidence to know that this stock will go higher. And because everyone's looking at it the same way, boom, self-fulfilling prophecy. You already know which way it's going. So as you begin to look at these trades the way I'm saying it, then they start to look a certain way, and you start to view the chart from an entry day, from a higher time frame back down to a lower time frame to show exactly which way the stock is actually going. Beautiful trade. Usea was a beautiful trade. Now, the next stock I want to go over is Ithx So looking at this stock, major move. Now, this is one of those things where you just gotta play it. The move didn't really happen till after hours. Had a lot of volume, but it didn't really move till after hours. It didn't have as much volume as you would like in the stock for the day, and that's why it probably had a late move, but still a good pattern overall. So let's break that down. Key areas, okay? Looking at this, this stock has some resistance here at this price, at this open price. which was 10:30 on the nose. And then we closed here at 10:06. And that's pretty much what I see. Let me circle back to a monthly. So we didn't have a lot of price action on this to really begin off of. It got as low as 911 on that chart there. So this was definitely a red to green play. So let's look at this 5 minute to kind of get an idea. So it didn't really pick up a lot of volume, and it got over to 10:30. So all this was based off of daily entry day, because there was no areas left. So now everything as far as entry day is what created the momentum on this stock. So looking at this, this was your area. Trend line break. So going back down, looking at the 5 minute, and let me go here, and we're gonna make this a 1 minute here. Pull up this second chart, make this a 5, make this as a 1. So we had our trend line break off the 15. You see at the wick, pull down, a little bit of sideways price action. So it made support drop. It probably didn't have no real volume to about here. Which is about right there. So that became support, 1230. Then it bounced up and then pulled back and held here. So ultimately, when you look at this, the way it actually played out was, it was just a ABC, ABC. So we had an A here. We had B as support. That pull down. This created C. And then we had our trend line break. Now, that's off the 5. Now, to break it down even more, let's look at the smaller support. So right here was A, which was here. This became B, or support. And then we had our trend line break, which was C. So when I see A, B, C, and then the D, this is why we got that big rip, because it basically did the same thing into the close. And that's why that was a pretty good trade, because that one there you pretty much can hold. So the entry on that, definitely looking at the price action, a little sketchy. Probably would have got in about there off of those candles being pushed in that time frame, because you got to remember, this is probably a couple of hours of price action. So let's go here to the 30 minute. So right there, you pushing out basically 30 hour, 32 hours, 30, breaking out almost 3 hours worth of price action of it holding 1230. You get you a push off of 1295, risking this previous. Now look at this. The open price was 1260. The close price on this was 1260. So that was the area where they switched and moved it the opposite direction. So I would have saw that and said, okay, 1260 risk, get in at 1295, 35 cents. It went to 23 and after hours. So you talking about 60-cent risk. And I mean, you could have got it tighter, because even here on the 5 minute, I could have got in here and risked it here. 1287, 1293. I could have risked a 10 cent, 20 cent. Even from here, 78. And then see the open of that price. Candle high was 1271. So you could have got in. Let's go break this down a little bit smaller. This high was 1292. So you could have got in at 93, risking the 78. So 15 cent. So you could have did the bigger range because of time, or you could have did the smaller range with 15 cent risk. 15 cent risk went to 23. So you figure $12.93, let's just call it $13. It went to 23 today. So 13 and 23 is a $10 gain. 15-cent risk, $10 gain. Still holding shares because it's after hours. Excellent, excellent trade. Easy trade. Not a lot of volume, but the pattern still exists. That's the beauty of it. Now, let's circle back out to our last trade. The last trade being RYTM. Again, got a little bit more action on this one. So we have a key area here. And then we had a key area here. Now, why is that key? See that it held, went out, broke down from that area. We had a key area here, broke down from that area. Then I go back and look at what it respected. So it respected this line, rejected here, rejected there. So when you start to see it that way, you start to understand this is 880. This was probably let's go down to 805. Now while I'm doing 805, because I gotta clear this area, what was the close price of that? Was 805. Okay, so this is more in line with closes and opens and stuff like that. And this is the key areas. From here was a key area because I was very close to the open and close price was a key area. It wicked out there. It respected this area here. That was 935. So this is how I probably would have looked at the key areas. This one here, probably key area. Why? Well, look at how it wicked and then it came right back up to that line, which is the open price. I'm sorry, the high was 1069. I'm gonna make that 1070 to include that in there. So this is kind of how I was looking at it. Wick, pull down. So now that we got our key areas of interest, let's look at the chart. So going down in here, we just came off of a big green day, 29 million in volume on RYTM. So it made us A, pulled back to B, now it's continue on to C. So again, you can even see it from a higher time frame. That was A, this was B, and I would say that this price here was probably C. A, B, that price was probably C. Now the open price of that was 837. We'll just mark that 837. And then what I'm gonna do is put that as purple, just so that it's a little bit different. But I'm gonna actually make that orange, just to give you an idea. So that's kind of how you can look at it from a daily aspect. Now, let's take this back into a smaller time frame. Now, we know we're in an uptrend looking at the chart and how it's moving, right? So, with that being said, looking at the smaller time frame on the 5, it starts to make a little bit more sense. Now, let me go back out to the daily because I want to show you something. Right here was a zone from here to here. Okay, so this being, let me see here, the close was 837. No, the open was 837, close was 805. We got 805. The low was 769. So let's put that at 69. So looking at this chart, looking at the move, you know that that was a demand zone. Okay, so looking back at this, I see that it wicked and pulled. This was probably an area too, right around this 935 area, right? Because you got your open price at 936, and then you got your high being 951, so that hits it right on the nose there, and that created a supply zone. So now that we got our areas, this can be an area here too, which was the close was 877, the high was 888, so 11 cents. $877, $888. So now we got our areas of interest. You could have used this as an area too. It's a bit small, but you can still use it. This would have been open price 837, high 843. 843, perfect. All right, so let's go down to our 5 minute to kind of look at everything. So this probably would have just been your A, retested, went back out. This wasn't a really big move, didn't have a lot of volume in pre-market. It only had 201 and 124, 100 and 23,000 coming into 930. So it didn't have enough volume to even get up there. So let's go to the 30 minutes so I can kind of count the bars and see what the volume was like. First 30 minutes of price action was only 272,000. I like to see more than that. By the second count at 1.3 in the first 30 minutes, an hour or so, is where we started to get some really nice price action. So that lets me know that that's when it defined A. That's when everybody saw the A. It was right there. Okay? So that's when everybody saw the A. As you can see, it pulled down, went back, and respected it here, pulled up to the demand zone, supply zone, tapped it twice, and then pulled back and then ripped. So you had a lot of supply zones, demand zones in this, but you had a lot of key areas. So one of the first key areas was here, but this wasn't a pullback yet. So that's why this was all A. This is where your actual pullback happened. This was your support. So looking at the chart, this was an entry-day support. Notice how the red and green is very close to one another. The close price was 857. The open price was 857. They were right on the nose. So that was pretty much support, entry day. And again, guys, you know I like round numbers, so I'm going to make it 860. Okay? So that was your key area. I might even make it 855 just so I can include more of the zone. See how it respected it here? That was a high 855. The high on this was 855. So it was a lot of area right there. So they respected it here and went higher. So that created another area. So let's break this down. Remember, we got to do this. Boom. Make this A5 and make this A1. So this is how I use the smaller time frames in conjunction with the larger time frame. We already know the trend. We already know that we're going up. So when I go to the chart and I'm looking for an area and how it's going to reach, we look at the lower time frames to get the information that we need. So once it broke this trend line, look, bounce A, B, C, D. This was the big A. This was the big B. That was a small A. This was a small B into the break. Once it broke over the trend line, it did the same thing again, but went back into the zone. So I left one zone to go to another. Just from zone to zone is where you play your play. That was a 50-cent move. So once it did that, most people took a little bit off, came back, took some more off, then it pulled up and they loaded up again here to go back into the zone and do the same exact thing again. which was this was just a continuation. It wasn't a pullback. So some people saw this as a 1 minute pullback, which is nothing to me. But then you had another pullback to take it up higher to 1039. Now, is all the criteria match? Yes, everything was here. Everything was here. Morgan Stanley maintained a hold rate on the stock and raised its price target from 4 to 8. And that's why I was trading higher today along with other news. More traders were looking at it. So that was our news catalyst. We had the volume. We were breaking a downtrend pullback. Key areas of supply zone, demand zone. We got our supply zone or demand zone now created supply. We in an uptrend, gave me the confidence to take the trade, and then you ride out and play the chart. So guys, once you understand what to look for in a trade and how that's supposed to work for you, then it allows you to be able to be confident in your trading and get better and better. All right, guys, appreciate you taking out the time to go over these 3 stocks. I hope you learned something new in this video. If you like it, throw the thumbs up, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you don't miss anything and get alerted when we bring out new content. But guys, like